All right, so basically what we're saying on EcoHerb is we can have 988 checks deposited to you by the end of 9 months from February to December, depending on when you join and when you verify yourself. So, it's just pretty much working on the job of Austin Code. You're working with ordinance and regulation and rules at the time. So, it's pretty much where you just being able to be a safety patrol or a security guard, and, you just maintaining the county and, making sure everybody's on a good foot at the time. So, everybody can't manage everybody's personal or primary intent. So, it's pretty much where you're using, UPS, AWS, UPS, ABF, you're using more of that content to, be more notified by those rules and regulations and rights at the time. So, it's pretty much, goes more deeper into deposition as you get to 10th grade. And, that's a lot of times where everybody gets lost. And, for me, I'm on 234th District Congressional District. So, it's pretty much where I'm familiar with, a little bit of my state, but not all of my state, but I still know the reference of my state. So, I know it's on one big document at one point in time that's already been clarified and authorized by what's his name? Leonardo da Vinci, John Adams, Andrew Jackson, Grant, Sam Houston. It's been notified already. It's already Little Stacy, Big Stacy, Elizabeth Ney. It has those following T-Mobile hotspots on them. So, it's pretty much who we promote to authorize the cellular brand of those companies in my proposition. So, it's pretty much knowing DWL, DeAndre, or Dayton, whichever one, prefers you to a next step. It's pretty much working between corn, catfish, shrimp. You're working with the difference of the business as you work with primary and premium business of a certain tradition of Mr. Catfish and More. So, it's working with 1987, 2014, 2018, and 2023, and, working with different propositions of gumbo, catfish strips, not cinnamon sticks, but, of shrimp at the time. So, it's pretty much as we being able to follow our food service conditions, that's pretty much what's been our head production of, of moderation for the fullest at the time as we focus on the Impala Premier, the Camaro, the Challenger, the Chrysler 300, the Maxima, the Altima, the Rogue, the Chevy Tahoe. As we focus on those mega platforms of cars at the time. So, it's working with J.G. Wentworth, Jackson Hewitt, Yugo. It's pretty much working with, orange, green, and blue of the recommended placement that the primary placement gets used at, majority of the time. So, it's pretty much dealing with the majority mode of vehicles that gets used most of the time. So, it's pretty much working with ADP, working with ADP status, and working with Google Infomark, TCS, Outreach, getting multiple descriptions of districts. And, being able to name them a district is pretty much where you're being able to use more of your 10th grade acknowledgement at the same time as you use more from social studies to geography at the time. So, it's pretty much having a legal place of a local jurisdiction to have those things at on CR England, Averett, and in Arnold at the time. So, it's pretty much giving you the classification to have your positions where you want to be able to have it, and have your instructions implemented the way you wanted it. So, it's pretty much using 98 miles, 87 miles, 47 miles to complete that instruction, to Sam Houston State University's Broadway program. So, I was pretty much working with interstate commerce and interstate law at the time. So, I was pretty much working with 1987 to 2023 law at the time. So, that's pretty much where, I was able to get, a little more notified in 2018 to 2023 with, those types of predicaments and productions. So, that's pretty much where I use my 8th grade of, being able to pass my ACT test with my 10th grade acknowledgments and intuition. It's pretty much where you're using extended form instead of standard form, and being able to use your own definition and district of your modes and measurements at the time. So it's pretty much what I used to get into college, and that's what I'm using to promote more for college as we promote more for meals and in ratios, collaborated ratios from PFG at the time. So it's pretty much as we're using PFG, YRC, and ABF. That's pretty much where we're using 987 counties with 987 miles to sufficienate and reduce pressures for being inflamed or being creating a personal health for ourselves. So, it's being able to put everybody at work and being able to use a certain recognition of design for it as well. So, it's being able to be a district coordinator, and that's pretty much as you're working with measurements of ratios at the time. So it's pretty much as you're getting started with the gauges and starting with your own private contracting. You putting everybody on as if you was a co-producer or a district manager. You're doing the same thing that a district manager would do, but only more. This is just where district manager meets you halfway at those certain specific inclines. So it's pretty much where I'm able to use more of my compassion and go my own way and be able to use my position for my time advancements of 28 years, 68 years, 88 years, and it's pretty much where you're using the difference of 99 months, 90 years and 9 years of experience coming from college intuitive at the time. So it's being able to use collaborated ratios along with common ratios, along with collateral ratios at the time. So that's pretty much we're using collateral ratios and using that with AIG fully loaded and Google Infomark and PFG transits as well. So it's pretty much we're using the collaborated ratios of plural demand, popular demand, and majority rule, and being able to see who eats more depending on that statistic is pretty much where we're using more from majority rule, especially at a university like SHSU, with its advancements and with its privileges at the time. So as using 1987 to 2004, and being able to use more of an updated version of 2018 Tahoe, 2018 Ram, 2018 Power Stroke at the time. So it's pretty much where you're using more of a universal plane for yourself as you get started with your transport of 988 hours, 98 to 64 from 1984 to 2064. So, as working with at least 200 months of 20 months of 40 months, understanding more about, the positive gratuity of your combined like terms and GDP rating is pretty much where you're using majority of your college funds at, as more about, being accepted with Enterprise, Amazon, Aquatics, Restaurant Depot, and, that's just another reason why you use collaborated ratios, just for, having the certain expanded form or extended form that you need to have that on your graphs, grids, or plans that you affiliate to have at the end of the day. So, I was using 1998 to 2080 and, being able to use a precise measurement to find out more about your digital applications that you have that will give you more insight into where you're at at 98, 89, 69 hundreds of valence instead of it being 1966 is 2016. So, it's pretty much working with a larger compound of 75% GDP being raised up at the time. So, that does bring scarcity. So, it's pretty much working on, 70 hundreds, 60 hundreds, and, that's all you can get at that point in time. So, that's pretty much working with 9.1, 3.1, 6.1 on the Articles of Confederation, Bill of Rights, and Process of Elimination chapters. So, it's pretty much working with Harry Potter, Chronicles of Narnia, Polar Express. So, you're at least reading at least 90, 80, 67 chapters at the end of the day. And, understanding more about, the diction of, of the party being examined at the time. So, what's the topic, and you going at least, we know we're using an intuitive form, so we want to be able to use a pleasant geography of that. So that's pretty much where you build and edit it more for the theme of the property. So you want to be part of Westlake, Lago Vista, and Cedar Park. You got to dress like it, you got to be like it, you got to be able to examine yourself and be able to add that extra diction that, no one could see that you add individually, implanted, since that's your own tradition of faith that you have representing that acknowledgement. So, that's pretty much where you're using, more of those novels for book study and, understanding more about the diction of compromises using on Dottie Jordan, of Big Stacy, of Little Enfield, of Ramsey, of Northwest, and Shipe at the time. So, it's pretty much using $98 million in reference and, being able to ship it from ABF to Jackson Hewitt Hugo to PFG to Google Docs, Google Infomark, and, being able to use at least $98,000 for Google Infomark at the time and $980 for, those that need a tax reference at the time. So, it's pretty much we're using more beneficial pay for 98,888 pension at the time. So, it's pretty much going towards a pension or a tax reference or a bill statement at the time. So a pension back tax deficit or pension tax reference or a bill statement will improve the positive sides of the exponents and the polynomials at the time. So, it's pretty much what we're using at the time in college at the time. So, that's being able to use sophomore year in college, junior year in college, as we spend time on a 344X resolution that was only done at SHSU traditions at the time. So, it's working with 987% from every hotspot on T-Mobile stretch. And, it's pretty much stretching from Wimberley to Brenham at the time, and, using more of its intellect in Brenham to Caldwell at the time. So, that's pretty much where, you're using more for your metropolitan or more for your ride of detour as you get more towards the Equinox 14 or the Ford Edge. You're looking for the Equinox 14 or the Ford Edge, or, even towards the 18 Tahoe at the time. So, that's pretty much where you're looking at more deposition from my companies and, what I like to do for my ABF moment at the time. So, that's pretty much as you working with one component, you can figure out much of one world of one way of purple, green, and white statistics. So, that's pretty much as you add in the persuasion toward, Chronicles of Narnia, Polar Express, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at the time. So, it's pretty much a new book that you always discover of, worth 9 chapters, 7 chapters, 90 chapters, and, it's being able to build up your interest rates of different vocabularies that you can read and describe it off of, and, understand more of the liability and leisure of those dictionary words at the time. So, it's pretty much being able to use your collaborated vocabulary in a common sense that gives you more oath and, gives you more privilege to, have more say so as a Senate or as a House of Representative, congressman, or, a state representative in your area. So, it's used in 1936 to 2034 and using at least 334 acres of purple, green, and white sufficiency from Austin to Amarillo to Lubbock at the time. So, it's pretty much using, it's using J.G. Wentworth coverage plans as you figure out the area propositions of, area propositions at the time so you can be able to be for service and, be able to secure rules and regulations of, what goes down in Austin, Lubbock, and Abilene at the time. So, as being a security advisor for your talents at the time. And, that's what EcoHerb is here to do, is to, advise you from 1987 to 2023 and, update your regulations and rules and rights and law at the time. So, that's pretty much what it does as far as Sam Houston, the state capital, as you figuring out, what individual tool that you want to use to get you more adapted with your career investments at the time. So, that's going either way, whichever one is a prominent version of your gratuity. They all match mine. So, that's pretty much all I have to do to, be able to insight you on, those general statistics based off the book that you read, as far as, you looking at Polar Express, Chronicles of Narnia, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Harry Potter, looking at those books like that. So, it's pretty much, how you get more affiliated with the common vocabulary that gets spent at the time. So, with that, you use in 1999 of 1899 going to 2020. So you should be, very updated with the tools that you need to use those types of vocabularies. And, that's pretty much how you be able to treat yourself for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter on throughout your day. And, how you make 461 brands one brand, but, multi-expanded at the time. You want to be able to expand that brand instead of standardizing that brand. So, instead of it being a Tahoe, you want it to be a 2018 Suburban or a 2021 Suburban. And, being able to use, that context for that ADP or that PFG announcement at the time. So, it's pretty much working on sufficiency for security at the time, or security for sufficiency. So you'd be able to not only be able to be safe when you drive, but, be able to have more sufficiency as far as having acknowledgments of how this capital metropolitan has evolved since 2005 or 2018. So, that's pretty much where I'm using 28 to 95% to promote more for the decency of the chapter at the time. So, I was working from February 22nd to March 23rd at the time. So, that's pretty much how you getting more started with the valence of, 987 miles, 287 miles, and 20%. So, I was working with at least, $2,000 in the pocket at the time. I was working with at least 18, 20s in the pocket at the time, as you start more for 20% instead of 220%, where you're working with at least 30 to 66 20s in the pocket. So, that's pretty much where you're working with at least fries, shrimp, and catfish at the time. So, I was working with 387% of productions or trans tax going through. And, that's pretty much where you're working with, the middle feel of, why we do it and, why is it important at the time. So, it's pretty much working between 367 points of congressional law and, being able to use more of 987 tobacco sticks to promote more for that good stuff. So, it's at least working with the common GDP that describes more of your local county rules and regulations at the time. So, I was working with $98, $9,800, $98,000 of 2007 to 2024. So, you being able to recover and, update yourself based off of that stuff as you get more affiliated with Amerigroup, affiliated with Sonic, affiliated with Burger King, getting more coverage stats for T-Mobile Stretch at the time. So, it's pretty much, what the average dealer does in its environment of B Cave to Dick Nichols to B Cave, Dick Nichols, and, to Balcones at the time. So, it's basically going to Balcones, to Brentwood, to Shipe, to Big Stacy, to Elizabeth Nate, to Ramsey at the time. So, it's at least working on 98,887 dimensions. And the thing about aquatics is, the thing about it is just, when you're on placement orders, your visibility gets wider. So, you're being able to use all the help that you can, and, be able to use intents of the source at the time of 1987 to 2022. So, as being able to update the source, and, being able to, evaluate the compression of the state as we use Under Armour, Camaro. We're using those type of topics at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're using, majority of that sufficiency at the end of the day. So, I was using 1987 to 2014, and, being able to recall everything from 2014 to 2023. That's pretty much where we're working with AIG, Fully Loaded, and JG Wentworth, Hugo, and JG Wentworth, no, Jackson Hewitt, Hugo. And that's pretty much what we're just trying to say. And working with W-2s and I-9s and that too. So there's registration. It's back to registration at that point, as you're using it for Sears, ABF, and Enterprise, and, most of those industries at the time of purple, peach, and green. So, after all, you're still working at least 9.8 million a year. So, it's pretty much working on 9.8 million a year coming from all industries of Austin metropolitan areas of Balcones, B Cave, and Brentwood. So, it's pretty much where you're using, all 378 points of those categories, and, being able to use more of those sufficiencies. So, it's pretty much where you're using, those primary politics at, it's pretty much where, you're being able to use your GDP savings and, understanding more about financial solutions at the time. So, it's pretty much how you get more towards 2022 to 2026 to 2028, and, understanding more about the promotions of living life at the time of 987% and, 987, 40 to 49% at the time. So, that's at least working with 330 other people for, 3.1 to 330x percent. So, that's pretty much where you're working with Maxima, Challenger, and Charger at the time. So, this is a time where everybody feels that they need to eat, no matter how rebellious that they feel. How Matthew, how Jared, how Jabriz, how JR Scooter, it didn't matter at the time. So, it's pretty much working with at least 90 years of experience being exempted at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're using at least 98,827, 86% of interest being deducted at the time. So, it's using, more for TransUnion Reflex, or, being able to use that normal $520 investment to bonus up at least $550 million, and, be able to take $30 million out at the time. So, that's pretty much where you're being able to create an equal equilibrium for 1980 to 1989 to 2014 to 2023, and, being able to use that equal equality for 2018 Tahoe that came out 6 to 8 years ago. So, we're coming out of a rut as it being 1866 of 1906. So, that's pretty much where we start in 2006 of 2023. And, that's pretty much where we've been on House of Burgesses and Treaty of Versailles, and, working on, the congressional law of that order of Trinity, Colorado, and Livingston in Central Texas today. So, that's pretty much where we're working with Lubbock, Abilene, Amarillo, Arlington of Dallas at the time, purple, green, and orange. So, that's pretty much where we're working with Oklahoma, Kansas, Kentucky, Seahawks, Green Bay. We're working with different districts along that type of detail. So, that's pretty much where you're using 98%, 78%, 98% of $400 being flipped and descripted, 487 times. So, that's pretty much where you're getting your evaluation of ADP, PFG, you're getting your evaluation part of what you do at these resources, and, being able to know more about these industries at the time. So, that's at least getting 98, 89, 79% of trans tax being deducted at the time. So as you're putting in more info, you get info from at least 987 components instead of just 4 to 1 component, during the day about, different insights at different areas, at different propositions. So, that's pretty much where you got to be able to have more ADP, more PFG, more ABF, coverage in districts of Companion, from Brenham to Waco to Lubbock at the time. So, that's pretty much where you're using, your central marketing at the time. So, it's pretty much using at least 9,600 catfish strips for sale, from 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. So, it's pretty much where you use your Wednesday, Friday analysis at. So, that's pretty much where you're getting that whole interest, involved at, for the next 26 days at the time. So, that's just working with orange, green, and blue statistic of ground level of UPS ground at the time. So, that's pretty much getting all the statistics for blue, green, and white situations and seminars at the time. So, all that is working with the FDR systems, FDR and fire department systems, as in getting more collaborated ratios connected to them, and being able to get 1 to 9 meals in is pretty much where we're anticipating on, understanding as we get more into 900, 9,000, 9 million. As you get to 9 million, everybody gets a meal at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're working from 1 meal to 9 meal at that, and, understanding that 980 hours later of at least 30 hours at the time. So, it's pretty much working with at least a day of insight going to GDP and intuitive form, and, into the standard form of that good stuff. So, it's pretty much putting in GDP of 2008, of 2026 at the time. So, it's pretty much working with orange, green, and blue classifications and coverage of 987 districts and propositions at the time, with purple, orange, and green districts from Wimberley to Brenham at the time. So, it's pretty much working with 9.1 of orange, green, and white statistics that go from 98,000 to 98 million, and understanding purple, green, and white situations of coverage at the time. So, it's pretty much working with 980 hours of a respiration break, from 1969 to 2023 at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're using more, the virtual look of, a hard, steady transmission field, as far as, the 2018 LT Tahoe coming out. So, it's pretty much working with 1998 to 2038 to 2048. So, it's pretty much, in the list of, those 38, 28, and 32 dimensions of 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. in the morning. So, it's pretty much working with a full deck of purple, orange, and green conflict situations and seminars at the time. So, that's pretty much what AIG works with, Jackson Hewitt works with. That's pretty much a 90% tax deficit that those companies work with, to get a reduction on, being able to collect those tax deficits for San Antonio to Waco to Brenham at the time. So, it's pretty much gaining, reduced coverage on that time as you focus more on T-Mobile Stretch's components at the time. So, as long as you stay focused on the GDP and collaborator ratios with PFG, that's pretty much all you need to do as far as containing 98 files, 87 files, 27 files, and using it in different points of coordinates. That's pretty much where you're using more for infield, you're using more for shape, you're using more for Elizabeth Ney as well. So it's using all three examples for that good stuff. So you can use 50, 60, 66 dollars and tens, and understand more about that the dimension of time at the time. So it's pretty much working with 24 hours of 64 hours of 14 hours at the time. So it's pretty much working with Lubbock, Abilene, and Amarillo as you get started with 9 hours, 8 hours, 80 hours, 30 hours, 70 hours. You can wait all day. So it's pretty much working on nine burgers, nine burgers, 90 burgers, 80 burgers. So that's being able to know more about September 18th to February 12th at the time of 2018 to 2023. Three different summer months at the time: June, July, and August at the time. So it's pretty much working with 387, 47% of Lago Vista, Cedar Park, and Jim Crow versus Jim Crow. We still in the civil rights of 1969 to 2003 at the time when we said we had ended, and that's pretty much where you saw the Italian break Will Ferrell's or Ricky Bobby's arm. And it's like all that performs in their vehicles, they ain't giving them no slack at the time. So you got to break all their inventory at the time. So I was using Uncle Sam, Andrew Jackson, and John Adams of 1933 to 2023 at the time. So, that's pretty much not just one company, not just one brand, not just one group going after it. That's pretty much the whole universe of, Northern Cycles at the time. So, I was working with a whole organization of the Southland Conference that don't agree with those types of intents at the end of the day of purple, orange, and green coverage plans at the time. So, I was pretty much working with T-Mobile Stretch and, understanding at least 98, 8, 67, 49 coverage plans of T-Mobile Stretch and, understanding more about its coverage from Wimberley to Brenham at the time is pretty much where we're using more towards our coverage for, Catfish Industries, $9 million catfish strips and shrimp at the time. So, I was working with 988, 67, 47% of TransUnion Reflect and, Max Press Pro and, working on, the new updated, Porsche, Audi, Lexus instead of Charger, Impala Premier or Camaro at the time. So, it's pretty much working with the standard form versus the expanded form. So, I was being able to be a whole district manager of your district and of your objectives. You're working on your portions of what you need to work on in order to get 960 hours approved, 967 hours approved at the time. So, I was working with yellow, blue, and green coverage plans of 98,867, 49% of TransUnion Reflect, purple, blue, and peach, regulations at the time. So, I was working with Polo, that's working with Dolce & Gabbana, that's working with Izod, that's working with Calvin Klein of at least, 90,000 hours at the time. So, that's pretty much working with Challenger, that's working with, that's working with Charger, that's working with Grand Cherokee, and, getting more with the more familiar, responsible items of the day in Enterprise Mogul and Enterprise Interscope. So, that's pretty much where you're using, as much templates as possible to remember your phase of oppositions and of the perception and proposition of that item. So, it's pretty much using different templates to promote that good stuff. And, that's what Brad and I know, and that's what my car wash boss had to do 347 at the time. So, it's pretty much where you're using, $9 instead of 90 cents, and, being able to use more of a positive ratio. It's pretty much what we're adapted to know more about in orange, red, and green situations. So, it's pretty much using 387 different ratios and spectrums to promote more for the color that you like at the time. So, I was just working with 2012 of 2023 and 2026 of Challenger, Charger, and that Grand Cherokee. And, it's pretty much where it's getting started with, in 98, 87, 37%. So, it's pretty much working with yellow, green, and red. Instance of 90 yards, 80 yards, 60 yards in Intel at the time. So that's purple, red, and green situations and on Google Doc status at the time. So, that's pretty much where that goes. And, understanding more about ADP of Restaurant Depot, of Aquatic Division and Amazon and tax office, it's pretty much where you're using more towards your reference toward that deposition of Enterprise, Alamo, and National. You're pretty much working with that Denver or that Arizona or that Nevada or that California raisin type deal. So, that's already 3 country invested, as far as knowing more about the Saint Nationalist investment in 7th grade to 10th grade productions, and, using its official productions as a good resource of locations at the time. So, it's pretty much working with Enterprise Locator and, understanding more about the Enterprise station to involve you with Monsters Inc., Madagascar 2, and those to go with it. So, it's pretty much using 98%, 67%, 32%. So, that's pretty much where it goes.